What's up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Dose of OJ. I'm Owen. Okay, I'm Josh. That's Owen.
You're Josh. I'm Owen. Sorry for anybody first listening. So now they're all confused. Josh, way to go.
Oh,
You got every one of our first-time listeners, if there are any. First off, thank you. Now you got them confused about who we actually are. I'm Owen. That's Josh. And this is Dose of OJ.
Oh, boy.
Team Pulp.
No Pope. No Pope, gang. So we always get things started with a non-sports topic, and I usually get these things from something. I was going to say this isn't any different, but it just clicked in my head that I saw something about this on Facebook. It's like a girly thing. Like, what store
You're
would
still
you go
using
to?
Facebook?
Dude, I have family that wants to keep in touch with me. Like, the only time I go on it is if somebody's like, hey, I tagged you in. I'm like, oh,
I
yeah,
think
no,
I think I think that's a bigger topic of discussion is Josh still using
I
Facebook.
don't
But it's
use
okay. Well, I'll
Facebook,
let
though.
you live.
I don't use Facebook, though. Like, I have it so my family knows I'm not dead.
Okay. Well, fair enough. So
Anyway, so I saw while I was on there for the short amount of time I was, this girl posted, it was like Coach, and it was if you could have unlimited money and go to one store, but you could only go to one store only, and you only had one chance to, like, you could go in one time and that's it,
mhm.
but you can spend unlimited money. What store would it be?
Okay, I have a hands down like nothing could touch this answer to me.
100%. So do I.
It's Best Buy.
Oh, 100% it's Best Buy. 1000% it's Best Buy.
I just don't know, especially in the 21st century right now, how you could choose anything else but Best Buy.
Here's a loophole. Can I pick Amazon?
Ooh, see, that's a good point, but I don't think that's
No, it's probably physical stores.
is that okay, since we both agreed, what would be your second choice? Because I was worried we were both gonna be like Best Buy.
Yeah, yeah, without question. My second one, I'll give you my top three. My top would be Best Buy. My second one would probably be, I mean, I guess you kind of have to go. You kind of have to go online here, but I guess if they still exist, I know there's a local place around here. It would be some sort of sports memorabilia shop.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Like, I want all of the jerseys, every single
That'd
one.
be cool. That'd be cool. Okay, so here's my top three. Although that sports memorabilia thing really got my maybe I shouldn't pick these, but these are my top three. I'm not moving. I got Best Buy at one, got Target at two. Target at two.
That's a good pick.
Target at two. And off the cuff answer for three, Lowe's.
I
I mean, let's talk about it for a second. You
all right.
go into a massive Lowe's, dude. I could fix my house at a moment's notice for the rest of my life.
Yeah,
I'm just
especially if you had
saying.
unlimited money.
That's exactly. You could buy the whole Lowe's store, and then even if you had to hire somebody else, you have every single material right there. So then they can
So
upcharge you for materials and tools and all of it.
right. So Lowe's isn't huge around here. Like
Home Depot.
It's Home Depot and Menards,
Yeah. See, I don't know what Menards is.
but like they're all the same. They're all
Yeah,
the same.
it's the same thing, just a different gesture. Now, if you could buy any one thing
Oh,
with
me.
price, okay, price doesn't matter. You can buy any one thing. What is it? But it can only be one.
My funny answer would be a Tesla, just to say I have a Tesla. Obviously, I couldn't.
I was thinking
drive
a
it.
little bigger. I was thinking a little bigger than a Tesla.
Okay, a baseball team.
Ooh, see now, I might just buy the Yankees.
Yeah, I mean, if money's not an issue, then yeah.
If money's not an issue, then I might buy the Yankees if we're talking pro sports teams, or maybe the Cowboys. Just make Jerry Jones an offer he can't refuse. I'll offer you $10 billion.
Make Jerry Jones like the assistant to the assistant of the assistant secretary's.
I'm gonna make him for the rest of his life. If I had unlimited money, I'd be Michael Scott and he'd be Dwight Schrute and he'd be the assistant to the regional manager for the rest of his career. But he'd just have $10 billion.
You demote him to like janitor.
Demote him to dude. See, Jerry Jones is a clown. But if I had unlimited money, see, I didn't think about sports teams at first, so I think that's a pretty solid answer because then you make an investment, you're making your money back,
Right.
right, and you get to watch sports. It's the whole 9 yards. I might just buy the Charlotte Hornets from MJ though, and just make myself feel better. Because then if they're running to the ground, I have nobody to blame but myself.
Yeah, but you might be able to do a better job.
That's a good point.
My number 3 on that first question list is, I mean, I can't really think of anything else, so I'm just gonna say Chick-fil-A.
You're just gonna buy a Chick-fil-A?
Yeah,
I don't think that counts. I thought we were talking stores, not restaurants.
it's a store.
Chick-fil-A is not a store. What?
I'm trying to find a loophole in that one. No, if I
how
really
do you
had
classify maybe a food store?
to think, yeah, no,
Technically,
that's not fair.
which is classified as a restaurant.
My number 3 would probably be, honestly, I gotta go. I think I gotta go with Target because
Target's a good one.
So let me tell. Like, your number 2 is my number 3, but I'm gonna tell you why though. I was really into like big brands, right? As far as clothing goes, like I wouldn't wear anything else but like Steve Madden and like these like designer. And then I was like,
Target.
man, well, so I Target, I frequent Target a lot, but like I started to realize that like for a dress shirt, I would pay, 45 to $50 for a dress shirt. Actually, it was more than that. It was like probably $75 for a dress shirt, and the thread would start to come out, like the buttons would start to unravel, and I'm like, I paid $75 for this, and it's falling apart. And then I went to Target, and I'm like, you know what? Let me just see what they got. So I know no free ads. But Goodfellow & Co. is the only thing I wear now. My jeans are Goodfellow & Co. My button-ups are good. Like my dress. Listen, I went to multiple weddings with Goodfellow & Co. dress shirts and Goodfellow & Co. ties, and they were like, "Oh my God, you look awesome." And I'm like,
Dude,
thanks. The tie was $12.
Goodfellow and Company, for those of you that haven't been put on, let me tell you guys.
Oh, they're amazing.
Dude, they're so clutch, right? And it sucks because the Target that's closest to me is like 45 minutes away. Oof. And it's also on the busiest road in the upstate, at least one of them. That's not an interstate. It's the worst. So,
question, why don't you just order online?
I'm not a big orderer online. I don't know. I'm real picky because I feel like every time I order clothes online, they just don't. Either they don't look how I thought they would, or they don't fit right.
I know you have a fiance, so I'm gonna speak for myself and my friends. Look, single guys who are watching this, stumble upon this. I was wheeling in college with Goodfellow & Co. threads. Like,
talk your shit, Josh.
I was wheeling. And girls would be like, "Oh my God, I love your chinos. Like, where are they from?" And I'm like,
Target, Goodfellow and Company.
And they'd be like, "Wow, are you serious?" And I went to school in like a rich city. Like, I'm not rich, but like everybody around me was like, "Yeah, my mom got me a frickin' Ford. I'm so pissed." I'm like, "Oh, all right."
Would you want a freaking G-Wagon?
Yeah, right. So, I mean, there were people driving Beamers, like, complaining. And look.
Meanwhile, I was driving a 1998 Dodge Dakota.
You know my favorite
with the passenger door that doesn't open.
You just get in the front and then climb over. You'll be fine.
That actually happened.
Hey, no judgment here. I had my favorite phrase when people talk about their cars that they don't like. One of my old bosses, he had a Hyundai. I don't remember what it was. It was like a 97. And I was like, he goes, "Yeah, it was hailing out." And he goes, "Yeah, I don't really care if the hail messes up my car." I'm like, "Which one's yours out there?" And I looked out and he goes, "Oh, that one? It's the maroon Hyundai shitbox."
That's pretty good. That's a good one.
I love that one. But yeah, so we figured we'd start it out with I start my sports streams out with jokes that aren't funny, but we figured we'd start every single episode out with something that is not sports related. So stay tuned for another unrelated sports topic or interview with our buddy Max. Real life interview, should be interesting. We thought it's interesting. We know you will too. So we'll get things going here. And of course,
You also learn a little bit more about Josh if you listen to that interview. You'll get some insight into the J and OJ,
yeah.
the no pulp side of things. But anyways, continue.
Yeah, so we'll kick things off with Jamal Adams. So we're recording this on Thursday, June 18th, and it came out today. I'm not surprised, to be honest with you, but Jets, was it safety, right?
Mm-hmm.
Jets safety Jamal Adams is pretty much demanding a trade out of the Jets organization. Again, not surprised.
Yeah, the Jets have really mishandled this situation with Jamal Adams. He's been public about his miscommunications and issues within the organization itself. Excuse me, God, I can't talk today. So to me, it was only, when is it going to happen as compared to will it happen? Jamal Adams, fantastic player. He's one of the best safeties in the entire NFL, if not the best. And he's only 24. The trade market for him is going to be massive. I'm not sure how much time is left on his deal. I don't think it's a whole lot because contract negotiations. Actually, matter of fact, I think the Jets signed him to a max a while back, if I'm not mistaken. So on a max contract, I think 5 years, 4 years, something like that. So a lot of money involved for one of the better young players in the NFL. The bidding market is going to be massive. Teams are going to have to give up a lot for him. Teams to look out for, the heavy hitters. The Ravens, I think, will be big into this market, because you got to think, if you're Baltimore, you're not necessarily worried about draft capital. You're worried about winning now, because you flopped in last year's playoffs after a great regular season. That's no disrespect to them, but they're 1-2 pieces away, and most thought they were Super Bowl ready last year. So the Ravens, I think, are going to be up there. The Cowboys, also look out for them. I think that would beef up their secondary very well, especially after losing Byron Bell.
Yeah, and then Dak Prescott's going to go, dude, can you pay me?
Yeah, that's a good point. But I mean, if they win this season, then he's like, okay, maybe it's a little bit different. Maybe I want to stay.
So
I'm finally winning in Dallas.
Quick sidebar. You brought up the Ravens. Lamar Jackson, the new cover boy.
New cover boy for Madden. Yeah, I saw a lot of hate for the new cover. It looked a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
I think the MVP edition, the higher paid edition with a bunch of extra shit people don't really need. I think it had something at the top along the lines of just a running back, something like that after winning MVP. It was pretty cool. I don't know exactly what it said off the top of my head, but the MVP cover was cool. It was a lot different than what they've done on previous covers, so I like that they switched it up a little bit. But I thought it was dope. Good for Lamar, especially.
And the cover curse is over. I think we could say that now.
Yeah, that's a good point with Mahomes winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah, let me circle back to this Jamal Adams thing real quick. I just want to say this: the New York Jets are a dumpster fire, and like the only thing that I like that are associated with the Jets is Gary Vaynerchuk.
I was about to say Gary V is probably on suicide watch right now.
Yeah, like he's probably swearing up a storm and throwing. Did you know that every single year he buys a Jets jersey with the entire roster? Like everybody's jersey on the roster every single year. Because when he says when he's going to buy the Jets, whenever he buys them, he's going to have every single jersey of every single player that the Jets have ever had.
That's insane. I mean, imagine having the money to just do that.
I think he said it's like $5,000.
Okay, that's honestly a little bit cheaper than I thought it would be. But you're also buying in bulk, cheaper, right?
Maybe.
I'm sure the Jets probably cut him a deal. Yeah, he's got to know somebody. He's one of the biggest, famous Jets fans, especially one that's not like I don't want to say not celebrity, because I think he's up there, but he's not an actor. He's not a comedian. You know what I'm talking about.
Like, I feel bad for Jets fans. I really have no room to talk. So, like, I probably should have prefaced this by saying that, but I feel bad for Jets fans because I just don't feel like I don't really feel like they're trying to win. It doesn't feel
I
like
don't
that.
feel like it's ever got any better for them, honestly. Maybe a couple ups here and there, but almost always down, which is again typical of the Jets franchise within itself. I feel bad for the fans, of course. If Jamal Adams is on my team, no matter how bad we were, I'd be upset. I love Jamal Adams as a player, as a person. I think that he made the right decision. To be honest, if I wasn't a Panthers fan, the Jets would be up there. Unfortunately, I'm much more of a Jets guy than a Giants guy, personally.
I'm neither. I can't.
Maybe it's the green, maybe it's the logo. I don't know. They're
Could
playing
be.
the same stadium, same city, whatever. But moving on a little bit, Debo Samuel, wide receiver for the 49ers, a rookie last year out of South Carolina, USC, has a
Not
broken
USC.
foot. It is USC.
It's not.
Has a broken foot. Will be out for about 10 weeks. Said it was a Jones fracture. Jones fracture, I think is what it said, in practice Tuesday with some teammates in Nashville. So unfortunate for Debo Samuel. I think especially, out of all the timing you could have asked for a foot injury, this is probably the best kind of time. I am a little bit concerned because he's young still, which also means he has a lot of time to recover and get better. But as a receiver, not being on one of your feet for even 10 weeks, like that's a long time for a guy that is, as fast, low to the ground, explosive as Debo Samuel is. And I don't even think Kyle Shanahan has touched or even scratched the surface of his potential as an actual wide receiver.
Right.
Lined up as a wideout a lot, but, Shanahan likes a lot of pre-snap motion, all kinds of stuff that hasn't really been seen before, which is why he's one of the best young coaches in the NFL. And Debo really fit into what scheme he was trying to use, especially offensively, implementing him in the running game a lot. But I think he still has a whole lot of room to grow. Had a really great Super Bowl. So unfortunate to see from Debo, but he's on Twitter saying that he's going to come back stronger than ever. One of the most motivated guys I've ever seen. Was the same way South Carolina has dealt with a lot of injuries in the past. Another concern. So I hope all the best for Debo. Honestly, I really do.
So, like, I don't want to be negative here. I just want to know. Now, I know freak things happen, right? Maybe he landed wrong. I don't know the full backstory of how he broke his foot, but we're in the middle of June, and if I'm the coach or one of offensive coordinator, if I'm Kyle Shanahan, if I find out that he was pushing himself and whoever he's playing with so far that the contact was enough, or maybe they went up for a jump ball and he landed on somebody's foot. I don't know what the case was, but like, you got to do a lot to break your foot.
Especially someone as physically well maintained as an NFL football player.
I wouldn't. Maybe this is the wrong mindset, but if I was Shanahan and I was calling him, I wouldn't be like, "Hey, I heard what happened. Are you okay?" I'd be like, "What the fuck happened? Like, why are you breaking your foot, dude?"
But also it said he was working out with his teammates.
I get that, but how? Like,
I understand your point, but without the full backstory, I don't want to be one to
I don't
hate
care
on my boy.
I don't care. I have no issue with Debo Samuel. I want to know, like, was it a freak thing, or were they pushing themselves so hard that he put himself in a bad situation that he didn't need to be in? It's June. You have time to practice. You have time.
To be fair, if it was something they shouldn't have been doing, I'm sure that would have been reported because it probably would have been known. Just putting that out there.
Yeah, but like, all it says is broke his foot practicing with teammates. That's all it says. Like, you can't tell me that you went to make a cut on a slant route and your foot snapped. Something.
I mean, it could, technically. I'm just saying, Deebo is notoriously injury prone, especially in college.
Has he broken his foot before?
As a South Carolina fan, I should know this. I don't want to say he's broken his foot before, but I'm pretty sure he's had below the belt injuries involving either the leg or the foot.
Like, I don't want 49ers fans to come at me and like just come for my neck, but like, I'm just saying, I really hope that it was a freak thing, and he's like, man, I don't know what happened. Like we were running routes, and I jumped up, I came down wrong, and like Michael Jordan maybe he came down flat. Michael Jordan broke his foot that way. So
Yeah, so Debo had that's what it was. He had a leg fracture in
Jesus.
2017. I remember that. And two hamstring strains, grade two in 2015, 2016. So a long time ago. I thought there was
Right.
more than that, honestly. It felt like that at South Carolina, but
Yeah.
broken fibula, that's a big deal.
Yeah.
Something to
Yeah.
move forward. But obviously, he came back from that strong, ended up doing really well in his first season in the NFL. So all the best, Debo. Moving on to Mike Gundy.
Oh God.
God, yeah, I don't want to mispronounce his name, so if I do, someone please correct me. I want to say it's Chuba Hubbard,
I think it is Chuba.
Oklahoma
I
State
probably
player.
shouldn't have
I'm
said
pretty
anything
sure
because
it's
I really don't
Chuba.
know.
If it's not Chuba, it's got to be Chuba, right? I don't want to mispronounce this guy's name. I'm going
Oh,
to stop
why?
talking about
See,
it.
so before we get into this, not really. I'm not throwing shots at the guy, but like, if his name was Chuba, you can't tell me that any of his friends don't call him Chubba Hubba.
Okay, Chuba Hubbard, if you're listening to this, we want to have you on as a guest.
Oh man.
And then we can Chuba Hubba. Anyway, Mike Gundy was caught in a picture. It looked like he
Come
was on
on.
a lake fishing, wearing an OAN shirt, which for those of you that don't know stands for One American News. I think it's just news, not news network. But from everything that I've read about it, I have never seen anything from this
I've never heard of it.
particular. Yeah, see, I never heard of it until this instance with Mike Gundy when Chuba Hubbard called him out. And Mike Gundy got a whole lot of backlash from it. One American News is supposedly a super, super far right network, has a whole lot of affiliations with Donald Trump, which, political ideology aside, all I know and why it was criticized so much is because they are not Fox News right, very, very far right, which is not the best thing in the world, not something he should be sporting out in the open, especially with everything that's going on right now. Not the greatest look for him. He was also accused of using a racial slur by a former Colorado linebacker in a 1989 game. They were accusations that, from everything that I saw, had previously been brought up, but nothing got done about it. If I'm wrong on that, correct me, please. But yeah, he got accused of using a racial slur in 1989 after all this news came out. I believe someone came and re-accused him of it because of what's been brought to light. So a lot on Mike Gundy.
So let me play devil's advocate for a second.
Oh, Lord.
He wears this shirt, right? And we're just gonna call him Hubbard. In Hubbard's relationship with Mike Gundy, has there been any disrespect? Has there been any mistreatment? Because this is the problem. Like, I'm not trying to get super deep here, but people should be allowed to think a certain way. Like, as long as you're respectful of other people
That
individually, it just sounds like Hubbard got his feelings hurt. I get.
listen, I understand where you're coming from. I think the reason Chuba Hubbard brought it to light, especially, was because this is not the first. From everything I've seen, Oklahoma State players coming out after Chuba Hubbard did, this is not the first instance of him supporting very, very far right.
But see, that's like, there's a difference between him supporting something that you disagree with, but treating you fairly, and supporting something like he does that you disagree with, and him coming into the locker room, throwing chairs at you, calling you things you shouldn't be called, and mistreating you because of certain, like, I'm just saying, that's just me playing devil's advocate. Now, if it is true that Mike Gundy is mistreating these guys, one, he shouldn't have a job, and two, it's that situation where Hubbard coming out and saying something is kind of like a domino effect that everybody
And
else
I
is going to say
think,
something because it kind of works up the courage to be like, you know what, he said it, so now I can say what I've been wanting to say.
yeah, and I don't want to stay on Mike Gundy too long because I know a lot of people have talked about it already. It's pretty self-explanatory, and I don't want to get too far into political ideology. But yeah, Mike Gundy has received a lot of critical backlash. This racial slur thing, as far as I know from everything I've seen, Mike Gundy has not commented on it.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll kind of wait and see if something comes out about that. Mike Gundy has also had a couple of suspect quotes during all this coronavirus stuff. Something similar to,
Speaking of
let's just get back
suspect
to
quotes,
football.
I don't want to. I know this is kind of throwing a wrench in our flow here, but Aubrey Huff,
Who?
Aubrey Huff. You don't know who Aubrey Huff is?
Aubrey Huff.
Aubrey Huff, former Tampa Bay Ray
That name
baseball
doesn't
player,
ring a bell.
dude. So he tweeted. He's a baseball. He's been very vocal in the MLB negotiations and in COVID and all these things. And he tweeted the other day. And first of all, Aubrey Huff is irrelevant. Like he's just not relevant. I don't know why he has a check mark on Twitter still. I don't know. But he tweeted out the other day, and he's like, "From now on, I won't be wearing it." This was June 15th. From now on, I won't be wearing a mask in businesses. It's unconstitutional for a business to tell us that we have to wear a mask. Let this.
Oh, I know what quote you're talking about. Actually, I saw
Yeah.
it on Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw. Yeah, that was dumb. That was dumb. That was really dumb.
The guy is an absolute joke. Like
It was absolutely dumb.
Oh.
And moving back towards the MLB, and we're not going to stay on the song because Lord knows we've talked about the MLB in these discussions way too many times. But the MLPA finalized a proposal that they sent back to the MLB. And the MLB sent a 60-game proposal. The deal that the players sent back was for 70 games. And I also believe still a full prorated salary. So we'll see how the MLB comes back. I know the players definitely wanted a little bit more as far as game time goes, because 60 really isn't a lot, especially once you start getting down to nitty gritty, start fighting for playoff position.
Well, think about this. Like, if you start out 7-15, your season's over.
For the most part, yeah. Unless you have a really, really hot streak.
Yeah,
Which,
like,
if you're 7-15, if you're 7-15, that's likely not happening. So I understand why they want more games, but it's just coming down to seeing if the MLB accepts it, because at this point you would think they would, because it's what the players offered, and if they accept it, it's done with, it's over, we can play baseball.
Right.
But with how the MLB's acted so far, I'm not too sure that that's going to get done, and I know Josh doesn't have a whole lot more to say about it as well.
I don't.
So moving on to trivia. Trivia, I think the score is 6-3.
It's 6-3.
Right?
It's probably going to be 6-3 after this.
I don't know. I gave Josh, or I'm going to give Josh, a Chicago baseball question. This is his supposed area of expertise.
Yeah, very,
so
very supposed. I'm just not good at trivia. Like, I've been saying that since I got my second point. I'm just not good at this. I crack under pressure. I suck. That's why my ACT score sucked.
Okay, fair. How'd you do on the SAT?
I didn't
Better than the ACT? You only took the ACT. See,
Yeah.
I only took that. Well, did I take the ACT? I think I got the ACT for free in high school, and then I had to take the SAT. But
yeah,
I did pretty average on both. But nonetheless, moving on to trivia. I'm not gonna make myself sound dumber by talking
I'm
about
very
my
dumb,
test scores.
So, yeah.
Okay, here's the question.
Oh shit.
In May 2001, a member of the Chicago Cubs was intentionally walked a record of 5 times by the Cincinnati Reds in an effort to break the record shared by Roger Maris and Gary Templeton. Name that Cub.
Oh. I want to say this guy, but I don't know if it's right.
I will give you a hint, and I'm only giving the hint because it's a hint on this website. And the hint just says Hall of Fame, which is a pretty helpful hint.
I'm trying to think if he's in the Hall of Fame. See, I'm so bad at this. Oh shit. Mark Grace. That's wrong. He was on the Diamondbacks still, I think.
That is incorrect, Josh.
Yeah.
It is Andre Dawson.
Oh my God! You said 2001, didn't you?
I did say 2001. What'd you think I said there? Not good at trivia, guy. Still down
No,
6-3,
I
guy.
was so as soon
This
as
is
you
what
said
you get for being
Cubs,
a pulp guy,
yeah.
not pulp guy.
So maybe the pulp is blocking my brain. When you said Cubs, I immediately went to 98.
Even though I said 2001. See,
Yeah, I just
you. This is
yeah.
what. See, Josh is just illiterate now.
We're gonna
Apparently,
cut this.
we're okay, guys. I think that is about all we got for today's episode. Friday, June 19th. 19th,
Yep.
right? It's Friday, June 19th. Okay, Friday, June 19th. As always, I'm Owen Watterson. That's Josh Barlog. Follow us on Twitter at Owen_Watterson and at JoshBUSN because Josh USN was taken. And we will see you guys next time. I hope you guys enjoy the interview with us and Max.
All right, Dose of OJ welcomes on their very first guest. If you don't know by now, my name is Josh. That's Owen, and we have a longtime friend. Is 7 years a long time?
I think you can consider it a long time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 7 years. I've known this guy. He was originally known as Max Reliable K. We can get into that a little bit. But Max Kaczynski joins us for our first interview out here on Dose of OJ. So Max, thanks for taking some time, and we're excited to get into it.
Awesome. I'm honored.
So I wanted to give Owen and everybody out there the backstory. So I transferred into the college we went to as a junior-ish. I say that because it took me like 2.5 years to graduate, and it wasn't because I'm stupid. I met
I beg
Max.
to differ.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, me too, dude.
Yeah, hey, dude. The first interaction we had was in our radio station or at our radio meeting in college, and I was like, wow, this guy's a douchebag. So that's how we met, and we became friends, really, really soon. We had to work a lot with each other, and I think we both realized that we were both kind of an asshole, so we got along well. So that's kind of the backstory. We met in college, and we've stayed in touch somehow. It takes us 3 years.
Ironically, that's why me and you get along, Josh. We're both assholes.
That's completely true. It takes us 3.5 years to, I guess, form a meeting, like in person, go, get together, go for some drinks. But nonetheless, he's free enough today to where we can have him on this Zoom call. So I guess tell the people how maybe you got into radio, because you are still in radio. It's not an easy business to get into. But what's the backstory behind you starting to fall in love with radio?
Well, it's certainly not easy right now in 2020.
Sure.
That's for sure. But I mean, what is easy these days? Yeah. So my story is kind of weird. It's like almost not nepotism, but I fell in love with radio instantly because that's what my mom did for, before I was born up until now. So it's been, over 30 years probably, or 30. I don't know. She probably doesn't like hearing that. But
Hi, Mary.
yeah. And
throwing shots at your mom right now, man.
Yeah, a little bit. But I mean, hey, age is just a number, right? But yeah, so she was, very successful working in radio. I was born in Cleveland, so she worked at a station in Cleveland, Q104, and being a program director, which is kind of the person who like picks the music and just basically runs the station, everything content wise, everything that's not a commercial, even though that they're
so like a producer on crack almost.
Oh yeah, just behind the scenes with pretty much every aspect of the business. And she got offered a really nice job in Chicago around 2000, and that's where we went. I was like 6 years old at the time, and she just kicked ass there for almost 20 years. And just growing up in that environment, I was just like, I want to do this. And the joke is that, she was super successful. I'm like, oh, if she can do it, I could totally do it.
So your dad wanted you to go into radio?
No, he wanted me to be an accountant. That's what he was, and that's what his dad was. Ironically, my girlfriend's mom is also an accountant, so I'm like literally surrounded by these people, and the numbers crunchers and all that. And I was good at math, but it was not interesting to me, really.
Yeah, once you start throwing letters in math, that's when I stopped.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
after about 10th grade, I was done with math.
So
Yeah,
No more math for me.
the only thing I like real world is probably playing pool or billiards for the classy people out there. I mean, you can actually use geometry in that, but again, that's hard. And
so you don't play it often.
I mean, I do, but I don't really use geometry. I just kind of, pray a little bit, see what happens.
Yeah. So tell me about how you went to I guess we can say we went to North Central College, very prestigious radio program, best college station in the nation, 2015. You're welcome. Tell me how that got started. How did you decide to go there? What was your first experience like?
Yeah, ironically, I'm actually wearing a North Central shirt right now because what was it? It was I think yesterday was the 4-year
It
anniversary
was
of
yesterday.
graduation. Yeah.
Yeah.
God,
Yeah.
you guys are old.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Very old and very broke. So
Yeah, and
I can respect that though.
and on a lot of old people medication too. But let's see. Oh yeah, so having my mom worked in radio, that's what I pretty much wanted to do at a very young age. And they had at North Central, they had this really cool thing in the summer where it was for 1 week, a group of kids, from all over the area, the western suburbs of Chicago mostly, would all go to the school, and there was a radio camp. So kind of like American Pie's band camp, except no tubas and, sexual exploits.
So the stereotype isn't true. Damn it.
Yeah, no, not at radio camp.
Nah, that stinks.
Well, I mean, then again, ironically, I did date 2 girls out of that camp at some point, but that's neither here nor there. So maybe the stereotype is true. I don't know.
yikes. So after that radio camp, or even during that radio camp, you're like, I'm going here, and I just can't wait. So
Yeah, I started my first summer there. I was 12, and then I did it every summer, I think, except one, up until college. And it was really cool. I was one of my phone's vibrating. I'm just going to throw it over there. It was one of those really cool things where I was super hands-on, and I was probably the only camper that, would be able to run the board without supervision and stuff like that. So I pretty much took things and ran with it and did my own shows and stuff like that. So I was like, yeah, I got a handle on this, and getting a relationship, going there so many years, got a relationship with John Madormo, who was the general manager and ran the station for, I don't know how many years he actually ran it. I don't know. It was 40-ish or something.
Yeah, something like, nonetheless, an absolute legend.
Yeah. So getting a relationship with him at a young age, he actually wrote me a letter of recommendation in North Central, which probably got me in, because I guarantee I didn't get in on any other sort of merit.
All right, so tell me, when you were at North Central, because I have, we have stories that we can obviously tell and maybe shouldn't tell, but tell me about the radio experience, because you and I have both worked in professional radio. Commercial radio is really what they call it, but for people who might be listening and might be interested in it, college radio, how does it line up? Is it parallel with commercial radio, do you think? Because there are similarities, but what are your thoughts?
So that's why North Central was so special in a sense. is it was completely student run and it was 24/7. I mean, we had.
That's pretty cool though that it was all student run.
Oh yeah, I mean it was up to 60 or 65 kids in any given term that are like technically on staff. I mean, the only problem is of those 60, there was probably only 15 to 20 that actually took it seriously,
Well,
that leads into my next question though. Did anybody do anything so stupid that they got kicked out?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I need to hear some of those stories.
Okay, so we won't mention names, obviously, but I have one. Not to, man. I mean, it might be a different story now. I don't know. Toward the end of my college, quote unquote, career, I was the assistant station manager. Not a big deal, and I got a call.
Just a shameless plug there
from the station manager, who we're all really good friends with. But he called me like 2:30 in the morning, and he goes, I got an alert. I got a call. Do you want to handle it or do you want me to? And I was like, dude, I have class in 4 hours. You can go. So I wish I would have went. Really do. Because one of the staff members was smoking weed in the studio.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to do that, obviously. And I guess it was picked up by campus safety, and campus safety came in and caught this person. And
this was a staff member, like not a student, or
no? Oh no, they're all students. They're all students.
Okay, all students. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So they were smoking the
ganja.
Ganja. Yeah. See, we're in sync here, Max.
They were smoking the ganja in the studio. They got caught, and they were pretty much no question, like they were done.
So the really funny part about that story is the campus safety building was literally next door to the radio station. Like not even 50 yards. So if, let's say, they had the window open, which I'm sure they did, if something wafted over, downwind a little bit, there's no doubt that would immediately perk up somebody at the campus safety building if they're outside.
That's crazy, man.
Not smart. So, I guess the other quick story that I can tell is we had a pretty cut and dry policy, like no food and drinks inside the studio, because of all of the pricey equipment.
Except for the cool kids. Like I ate and drank in there all 100%. The time.
So like cut and dry for pretty much everybody except for the people who we knew were responsible enough to like not drink of water in front of the board.
Yeah.
So there was another call. Got a call from the station manager, and he goes, well, this is going to be a pretty tough conversation to have with the big guy. And I'm like, what happened? And he goes, well, person X disobeyed the no food or drinks in the studio and spilled Mountain Dew Code Red all over the board. So that was about.
Was this like an expensive soundboard?
Dude, so we're talking industry level, industry standard board. Was
this before the upgrade or after? I can't remember.
This is before.
Okay, still, I mean, that board is probably 20 years old at that point. But, I mean, you're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars without a doubt.
Yeah. So
Jesus Christ. All for some Mountain Dew Code Red, which, honestly, let's be honest, maybe it was worth it.
I'll tell you what, was that bottle of Mountain Dew Code Red worth $750 worth of damages?
Depends on who you ask.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
I don't know, going back to another point about like how it's different than like commercial radio or similar, having a totally student run staff. One of the problems that you frequently run into is, well, if you are running the board at 3 a.m, you're going to have some people that just up and fall asleep
Mm-hmm.
and, cannot do the job when you are asleep. Because the thing, I mean, you can theoretically put things on autopilot for a while, but eventually you're going to get what's called dead air. And that's when nothing is coming out over the radio. Absolutely nothing, like a low hiss, like just, and that's it.
That's no bueno.
Yeah. So there were countless instances of people just up and falling asleep in the middle of the night.
Yeah. and
Were you guys ever one of those people?
No.
No. So I was really weird. I was, again, super passionate about it. The summer of my freshman year, so after freshman year, going into sophomore year, I should say, so this was a non-paid thing. This was just for credit, essentially, during the school year. But during holiday breaks and stuff like that, they would pay you. It was like minimum wage, or I can't remember how much it was. But so you would have to staff the summer. And after my freshman year, I decided, you know what, I really want to, what's the word? Bust my chops, or I don't know, cut my teeth on it. And so I did Monday through Friday, 3 to 6 a.m.
Shoo.
So I pretty much killed my summer, and decided that I was going to be the person to hold that fort down. And like, I obviously never fell asleep or anything like that. But yeah, that's when I was super committed and didn't care about sleep. Now I need like 11 hours a night.
Dude, Josh, why aren't we up recording from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m.? The heck, man?
So listen, here's how this radio station worked, and I'm sure a lot of other student-run college stations go. You come in to the first meeting, and everybody's welcome. You don't have to be a communications major. You can be a history major and be like, yeah, I think it'd be cool to do like sports radio, and you can go in and do it. But the way it works is the people who have been there the longest get first come, first serve in hours. So there's a giant spreadsheet of like, okay, there's news, there's sports, there's music. You to be a radio DJ. There's traffic. There's all these things that we need to fill. And the people who like my senior year, the whole board was empty. I'm like, okay, give me 6 to 8 on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and give me noon to 3 on Friday. Like I could pick and choose, and it's tough because you have to maneuver around your class schedule. It is a lot of work. It's a lot of work to be a part of a radio station in college and take it seriously, and balance a class workload. But I gotta say, man, I got really lucky coming in as a transfer junior. No experience in this radio station. The earliest I ever had to be at the radio station was 8 a.m.
Really?
I got really lucky. I got really, really lucky. So I'm super grateful for. I do wish, though, if I could do it again, I would probably sacrifice a little bit of sleep and maybe do a 12 to 3 or 3 to 6, because those people who did the 12 to 3 and 3 to 6 were able to really experiment with their breaks. They were really able to experiment with, cross-fading tracks and putting in spots in certain areas and taking weird phone calls, because those definitely existed.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know. I guess I just wish that if I were to do it over again, I would probably take that, knowing what I know now. But I know, Max, I want to get to this too. I mentioned earlier, why did they call you Max Reliable K?
Well, it was for exactly that, is because I did the shifts that nobody else wanted to do, and I would always show up, at a moment's notice. I didn't even live on campus until my last term, so to speak. We were on trimesters. So I only lived on campus for like 3 months when we lived in that new hall.
Yeah.
And just a really quick side story. I'll never forget coming into that dorm, and my dad was carrying a TV that, he had like got. It wasn't a really nice one, but it was like for my college dorm. And he walked in, looked up at the wall, and saw this, like, what were they, 40-inch plasma screens in every room.
Yeah.
And my dad dropped the TV on the floor, about a 2-foot drop, and said, "You got to be shitting me."
Listen, I want to tell people this college is not cheap.
No.
It's not cheap at all, and I'm still paying
Student
for
debt
it.
for the win, baby.
Yeah. Well, so here's the thing. Let me explain how Max and I finished off our college careers. I lived on campus from the time I got there, but I started out in one room, 4 walls, 2 beds on one bed on each side, and you have maybe 4 feet of closet space. You get a
Yeah.
dresser and a desk. I started there. Now let me tell you where I ended. This new hall was built. It was being built while we were all in school, and people were watching this thing get built, and they're like, "I'm living there. This is going to be so cool." We saw the blueprints and stuff like that, and we're like, "This is amazing."
And
So
normally, like, you'd have like donors and stuff, like it's named after something. It's literally called Newhall when it opens. Like, there's no name for this. It is just literally
Jesus.
the most
Newhall.
generic thing ever.
So this building was on the west side of campus, the very tail end of the west side of campus, and it was 5 stories. I can't remember how many units there were, but this thing was amazing. Okay, so let me take you through a virtual tour or a worded tour of where I lived after in my final year. So when you walk, I was on the 2nd floor. You walk in to the like lounge area, a giant open lounge area. There's a laundry room, which was your standard laundry room that you had to pay far too much for loads of laundry. I think it was
Save them quarters, baby.
$1.10 per wash per dry, just so you know. So there's vending machines. There's like an area to sit, to study, to socialize, whatever. And then you go down the hallway, and the hallways are wide as shit. I got to tell you, like, they're not your standard hallways. They're double the size, I guess, for moving purposes, which was very smart, by the way. So you walk in, and you walk into a common area. I wouldn't really call them wooded floors. They were like laminate wood floors.
Yeah.
There were two single seated chairs, coffee table, and a couch. Couch may not have been the most comfortable, but it did its job. I had 3 other roommates, but we all had our single rooms. So you walk in, there's 2 rooms on this side, there's 2 rooms on that side, and there's 1 bathroom with a shower over here, 1 bathroom with a shower over there. There's a kitchen, there's a fridge, like a big fridge, stove. There wasn't an oven, which kind of sucked. But like, and then of course Max mentioned the TV on the wall. I walk into this place and I'm like, I don't belong here. I definitely don't belong here. It was the nicest place that I've lived. I lived in another apartment after college that I thought was pretty nice, but those dorms were nicer than my apartment.
Your apartment was nice, but I don't know what those would go for. Like, I live in Green Bay, Wisconsin. I don't know what was that? Technically a 5-room apartment. Like, I don't know how much that would be. That would probably be close to $2,000 a month, probably, in any American city. I mean, that thing was really nice.
Yeah. So we
I have to ask this, since you said you live in Green Bay. Are you with Josh on the Chicago sports train, or are you a Packers fan?
No, listen.
No, I follow my dad in sports. I'm the only child, so he grew up in Pittsburgh in the 70s when the Steelers were winning a bunch of
Gotcha.
Super Bowls, and the Penguins had just started. When I moved to Chicago, I didn't really like baseball or follow baseball at the time. I was like 6, and I just picked the Cubs over the White Sox for some reason. But I've been pretty consistent in that in 20 some years now. So my sports is all over the place. But I'm consistent.
Josh is shaking right now at the thought of his friend being a Cubs fan.
You know what?
He knows.
Quick sidebar. We talk about friends and Cubs and White Sox. went on a trip to San Antonio. I really hope he watches this. I went on a trip to San Antonio, spring break, and absolutely.
Out of all the places you could go for spring break, why San Antonio?
Listen, we didn't.
Yeah, I was asking the same thing.
We didn't want to go somewhere that was like your typical spring break. Like we didn't really want to like party with the spring breakers. We were kind of like, listen, I did a lot of drinking in college. I kind of just want to go somewhere cool. We almost went to Toronto, but I couldn't get my passport in time. So we picked San Antonio because of Tex-Mex, because of the scenery. We wanted to go to the Alamo. And so we landed in San Antonio. The trip starts with like us losing our bags. The bags didn't show up. We missed a flight. We missed a connecting flight. They put us on another one. And it was on St. Patrick's Day, so I had 6 beers on these flights. And yes, you do get way more hammered on planes, just so you know.
Of course. High altitude.
Yeah, so we're sitting in this bar, having a really good time. This is just before the MLB season was going to start. I believe this was 2016. And I'm not going to name his name, but he turns to me and goes, so how do you think the Sox are going to do this year? I was like, man, I don't really know. It's tough. I think the Cubs are going to be really good, though. And he goes, bet you the Cubs sweep the White Sox in the Crosstown Series. I'm like, huh? Sweep them? All 4 games, sweep them? Yeah, there's no shot. No chance the White Sox beat them, even once. I'm like, $100. Put my hand out. The bartender was like, are you sure? And we shook on it. There was another witness, which is another good buddy of ours. And the first game of the 2016 Crosstown Classic, the White Sox beat the Cubs. So
that was over quick.
So I texted him joking, and I was like, so I take Apple Pay, Venmo, I'll take cash. You can buy me drinks for the rest of the year until we get to $100. Like whatever, however you want to pay me, that's great. So all he put was like, ha ha ha. And I was like, I'm serious. So I'm not kidding. This really put a wedge in our friendship. I didn't talk to him. Any chance I got to like throw a jab out there in a group chat, like bet you, like somebody would say, I bet you won't. And I'd be like, I'll bet you $100 you will. Like I would throw it out there. I would throw it out there. And I think one day, this was a long time. This lasted almost a year. Like, I'm not kidding. It was that long. So I don't know what happened, but I think he texted me about something and I didn't text him back because I was busy. Like I wasn't that kind of guy to like straight up ignore him, but I didn't text him back for some reason. And he texted everybody in the group chat and he's like, is Josh mad at me?
Yeah.
And so I think somebody was like, you think? And then I get a call from a buddy of ours and he goes, hey, are you home? And I'm like, yeah, why? What's up? He goes, he's on the way to your house. He's on the way to your house right now. And I was like, why? And he goes, he wants to pay you. And I was like, oh my God. I'm like, okay, whatever.
How long after this did he actually pay you?
Legit, the Cubs might have already won the World Series.
They did
before he was paid.
Yeah, it was after the World Series. So
yeah, definitely.
So my doorbell rings. I open the door, and when I say this is from a movie, I mean it. It felt like he was showing up to his ex-girlfriend's house begging for another chance. So I opened the door. He goes, his voice. He like cleared his throat to make sure that like he wasn't like it wasn't that type of thing. He was like, "Hey man, you got a minute?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he brought over a 6-pack of Corona and an envelope. So he takes 2 beers out of the thing. We crack them. Cheers. Start talking. And he's like, "So listen, man. Like I brought you your check for $100." And I was like, "Dude, I don't want your money." And he was like, "No, like we made a bet, and like I was bad about it. So like here, take the $100." And I was like, "Man,
will you accept this, bros?"
Yeah, basically, I was like,
"It's an episode of The Bachelor."
So I'm like, "Man, listen, like I really don't want your money." And I explained to him that it was the principle. Like if he would have tried to give me the $100 2 days after the bet was over, I still wouldn't have taken it. I'm not going to take $100 away from my friend. Like if it was $5, I'd be like,
I would have 100% taken the money no matter what.
I was like, dude, if it was $5, I may have taken it. I'm not taking $100 from you. Like we all have student loans. We all have
You
payments.
should have at least made him use the $100 to go get limes for your Corona. I mean, damn.
$100 worth of limes. So he goes, all right, man, well, how about this? Keep the beer. And like, are we good now? And I was like, dude, we would have been good as if you would have offered the money. Again, I wouldn't have taken it, but it was just the principle. So he tries to leave, right? He leaves the house and he leaves the check on the table on purpose. I grab the check and I chase him from out of the house. And I'm like, dude, take your money. I don't want your money. Okay. I just don't want your money. And then we've been fine ever since, except for trying to get him on a podcast. That's kind of a pain in the ass. I really don't know the point of that story, but I guess
It was entertaining nonetheless. Like I said, I felt like I was listening to an episode of The Bachelor, just podcasted version.
What's his name? Chris
Harris, I think.
Harris.
No, that's the Chris Harrison. That's it. Chris Harris is an NFL player.
I was thinking Hansen. Isn't that the To Catch a Predator
Is it
guy?
Chris Hansen? That name sounds familiar too. I don't know.
Hansen's the Predator dude.
Harrison's the dude that's been on The Bachelor for forever.
Yeah, Chris Hansen is the Predator guy.
Yeah.
I guess that's a good segue. You want to get a little serious here, Max?
Oh,
Sure.
Lord.
So,
just don't talk. I can't talk about any open criminal cases though.
Okay. Well, hopefully not. Hopefully, I think they're closing soon. So we all go through I guess some like hard times in our lives, depending on like it could be money struggles, it could be health, it could be relationships, it could be any of those things, and we've all experienced them. But Max, you had something really, really unexpected happen to you. Was it a couple years ago that really changed your lifestyle? Do you want to get into that?
Well, there's like two things. So I'm trying to the first one was crazy. I was at a Sunday night football game party or whatever with one of my best buds. He's a Ravens fan, I'm a Steelers fan. And we were watching that Sunday night game or whatever, having a bunch of beers. And I like halftime during the game, I was like, dude, my chest does not feel good. Like this hurts, man. I don't know. So I end up going to bed, going home, driving home, going to bed. And I woke up in the middle of the night at like 3 a.m. I had a Fitbit on at the time, and it said my heart rate was like 165.
Oof.
And I was like, okay, this is weird. And my chest hurt like hell. And I was like, okay. Couldn't go back to sleep, like just completely uncomfortable, like tossing and turning and stuff. So eventually, whenever the urgent care opened up, I went to the urgent care. And I told them about my symptoms and everything, and they gave me an EKG, which they put these little sticky things like all over your body, and you got to take your shirt off. And there was this really cute nurse that was giving me this EKG. Like,
I love how that's one of the things you remember out of this process.
I very, very vivid. This was a life-changing thing, and that girl was part of it. And so she comes back in and she's like, you want to put your shirt back on? I was like, are you sure? No, I didn't say that. But, I'm like flexing a little bit. And she's like, no, the ambulance is on the way. You're having a heart attack. And I'm like, what? Excuse me?
That escalated quickly.
Yes, it did. And so I got to ride in the ambulance, and I'm like Snapchatting everybody at this point. And I'm like, yo, going to the hospital. What up? And, called my parents, and they were like, what the hell's going on? They lived in Chicago at the time. So they start driving up, and apparently it wasn't actually a heart attack, but I had 2 infections attack my heart essentially. So like they described it to me as like pneumonia that attacks your heart. and it's apparently very common for guys and girls in their 20s. And
Interesting.
it's myocarditis and pericarditis were the two. Normally you only get one, but I got two. But then they just gave me some drugs, and the pain eventually went away and stuff like that. But
Did they have to perform any surgery on you?
no, but I just kind of had to, go on an antibiotic for like a month, and then they told me like, don't drink for a month and stuff like that. But it was kind of scary because for like 18 hours or so they had no idea what it was, and which is never comforting. Whoever hears this, they probably know someone that went to the hospital and you don't get an immediate answer, and that's not cool. Like, you expect your doctor to know immediately what's wrong with you right away. And for those 18 hours, it was like touch and go, because I had no idea what was going on.
Yeah, that would be scary as hell. I couldn't imagine not knowing what was going on, especially and you said the people at urgent care told you were having a heart attack?
Yeah. And
yeah,
then
that would freak me out.
So then the ER doctor agrees. And then I forgot about this part. The guy in the ambulance gives me another EKG on the way to the hospital. And he's like, dude, this is the healthiest heart attack I've ever seen. I'm like, what the hell does that mean? Like, do I get a cookie? Like, do I get a trophy? Healthiest heart attack, give me a shirt. Cause I was like, 20, I was very early 20, like either 22, maybe at the time, maybe 23. And, I've always been decently fit, and, I work out constantly. That not something that, I thought was going to, that I'd have to cross paths with at that time. So that was kind of weird.
Nobody expects themselves to cross paths with the healthiest heart attack.
Yeah, kind
of an oxymoron, don't you think?
Yeah, I have no idea what the hell that meant.
So I think the crazy thing is I've had times where like I'm just sitting in class or something, and like my heart just starts going, like it's not like crazy, like, oh my God, what's happening? But like it's elevated, and I'm like, wow, what the hell? I can't imagine. Like when you're for relatively healthy people, when you perform strenuous activities, your heart rate goes up. But when it goes up and you haven't done anything for it to go up, I can't imagine being in that mindset of like, oh my God, what's happening?
Yeah, I couldn't either. That would be something that would scare the hell out of me. And you said your parents like automatically wanted to drive up to where you were. My mom would be freaking out. So that would be something I for sure don't want to go through.
Yeah, and being an only child, that definitely that was kind of rough.
Yeah, see, I have a little brother. I also have two sisters, but the one that my brother stays with my mom, and maybe she just would have been like, fuck it, we got another one, so maybe it'll be okay.
All right, so that was that was one story that happened to you. God, I can't imagine. I've been in an ambulance that I remember like once, and that was just because I passed out at the doctor's office because I didn't eat anything before. But it was nothing crazy. Like we were stopping at stoplights. Let's put it that way.
I've never been through anything like super traumatic like that. You want to hear the funniest story and the only story I have about me going to the hospital because I, severely injured something? You guys are going to get a kick out of this. So I was like 6 years old, maybe, right? Maybe younger than that. And in my mom's kitchen, when I was younger, we had a TV in there, right? When I was younger, and on Disney Channel, and when I was younger, they used to have the music videos like in between commercials, and I'll never forget it. There was a Jonas Brothers song playing, and again, I was super young, so don't judge me. And I was dancing in the kitchen in my socks, and I'm not shitting you. I fell flat on my face and almost broke my nose from dancing to the Jonas Brothers. Didn't break my nose, but that was the closest I've come to severely injuring anything. So I guess you can say I'm blessed, but I'm also still young, so I don't want to jinx myself.
Oh, the knock on wood was funny.
I was hoping you were going to break your nose, and then I was going to make a comment like, oh, so that's what happened there.
He also,
You know,
he also got hit in the face with a skateboard.
I did get hit in the face with a skateboard. You got to check out one of the other episodes to hear that story, but it's that one's pretty good.
It's hilarious. So you mentioned two stories. The next one, in my opinion, was something that I really, when you told me this, and when I found out the things that went into the diagnosis, I I we bust each other's balls a lot.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
but at that point, I'm like, man, I got to take a step back and like, if I can do anything for this guy, I have to. And it was one of those things where like, I was dying to know, one, what was going on, and two, that you were good. So I guess let's get into this next, I guess traumatic, I don't know, the diagnosis, what went into it.
So first of all, what led, two things kind of came together. It was really weird. So I got mono, and
Ooh.
that's the famous kissing disease or whatever. And it was the sickest I had ever been. Like, it was absolutely awful. My throat was like pretty much all closed up, and like I couldn't breathe, couldn't do a lot of things. Like, I was sleeping for like 20 hours a day. It was awful. And so that is an autoimmune disease, which basically weakens everything in your system while you're fighting this mono, because all of your white blood cells, like everything tries to attack the mono, because there's no cure. You just kind of have to sit there and take it. And aside from like over the counter pain meds and stuff like that. So I was taking a ton of like Tylenol and ibuprofen. I think I was like on alternating. It was like 1,000 milligrams of Tylenol and like 800 milligrams of ibuprofen. And I was alternating like every 6 hours. So I was on hella medication. And so I go in to the doctor to finally get, tested and diagnosed for mono. And they were like, hey, it's tough shit, basically. Like, don't stress yourself out. Just sleep and do whatever you got to do for X amount of time. And they don't tell you how long it's going to be. Like, for some people, it's like a week, which was fortunately what it was for me. I think it was like 6 days where I was like really down and out. But like for some people, it could last like a month. It's terrible.
I've had friends that have had it, and some of them, it's been very volatile, like you said. Some of them have been out and out for, a week or two, and then some have been out for over a month. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and then I think it was this past year. I mean, we're all sports guys. I think wasn't it Sam Darnold?
They got mono. Yeah, he got mono last year.
Yeah, he was out for like
a minute. Yeah, he was out for a while.
4 games, so that's like a month.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it attacks people in different ways, and so the whole point is that basically it weakens your immune system. So I get some blood work done, during the whole mono test, and they confirm that it's mono. And then the nurse stops and goes, "Oh, there's something else too." I was like, "Oh?" And she's like, "Yeah, you have diabetes now." I was like,
"Oh my God."
I was like, "What are you talking about? Are you sure?" And she's like, "Yes, this is actually kind of common when people get mono. It's one of the autoimmune diseases that they're all kind of connected. I don't know all of the science behind it, but it's all based on this one gene, and there's different diseases that you can get because of that." And originally they told me, they were like, so it's type 2, you don't have type 1,
type 1 is the worst kind of diabetes, right? Like,
it depends.
I'm not sure how the different types work.
I can only really explain mine. I mean, I have some very close friends that are type 1 as well. They essentially, their bodies, so with diabetes, it affects how your body processes glucose or blood sugar. And the ideal level, like if you guys were to finger prick yourself right now, like your ideal levels are going to be between 90 and 120, like 100% of the time. People that, are totally healthy, for lack of a better term, they don't stray past those levels. But for type 2, my body still produces insulin, but just not at a normal rate. It's at a much lower rate. So and then type 1 is they don't produce insulin at all. And I might have that a little wrong, but in most cases, in the people that I know, their bodies do not produce insulin at all. They have to do the insulin shots and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But for me, it was just totally out of left field because I have no history of diabetes in my family. And again, I am a relatively healthy person. During this whole process, like the whole mono diabetes process, I was pushing $190. And again, not like out of shape or anything like that. But now, as I sit here today, I'm like 160. So during this whole process, I lost 30 pounds. I still look decently the same. But normally the diabetes, the people that have it are usually overweight and, don't lead the healthiest of lives. If they lose a little weight. Yeah, that's the stereotype. And if they lose weight, it possibly goes away. And I was told at the beginning of this that this might go away after the mono works through your system. So we're like 8 months later now, and it's not going away. So just chalk it up to bad genes, I guess.
Well, Max, I have one more question for you to kind of roll things out here, and it is a sports question because you are a Steelers fan.
Okay.
How do you think they fare this season in the division against the Ravens and company after not having been last year? How do you think they do this year with their quarterback coming back? Minkah Fitzpatrick was fantastic for them last year. Whole lot of good things coming for the Steelers. How do you think they do?
It 100% depends on Ben. It's really interesting that they were, I used to give Mike Tomlin a lot of crap because ironically, everybody, I don't think he's the best coach, and all my friends that are, I've got a lot of family that are Browns fans. I've got a friend that's a Ravens fan. They all say Tomlin is like a top 5 head coach. I guess I nitpick because he's like the worst at challenges. He went, I want to say 4 years without winning a challenge. The streak just ended this past year. It's terrible. They're the one team in the league that doesn't have a video replay coordinator that tells the people, will buzz down and say, hey, challenge this. The Steelers are the one team out of 32 that don't have that. So Tomlin is basically going off of the video board when they replay.
Yeah, that's not the best idea there, Mike Tomlin.
And when you're in opposing stadiums, guess what they don't do? They don't show the New Orleans Saints fumbling the ball.
Yeah, exactly. So that doesn't make much sense.
No. So there are 100 instances where Tomlin should have challenged but didn't. But anyway, last year kind of changed my opinion on them. He was staring 3-13 in the face. Ben goes down second quarter of week 2. They're about to go 0-2, and they have no viable quarterback option. For that defense to play as well as they did to carry them to 8 wins, Tomlin still does not have a losing season, which shocks me.
He's never had a losing season?
No.
I didn't know that. That's damn impressive.
Yeah. And I mean, if Ben is healthy and doesn't, 2 years ago, he was the passing champ. I mean, so he doesn't even have to hit that productivity. I mean, he still throws a lot of picks, but if they're anywhere decent, and with the NFL expanding the playoffs to 7 teams now in each conference, I mean, I can see the Steelers being a wild card team.
Are you opposed to them signing Cam Newton?
I thought they would have already done it. I was
Me too,
I'm
man.
really surprised. I'm surprised Cam is still out there, period. I mean, I
Welcome to
understand
my
that
life.
with the coronavirus and everything, the teams weren't able to do like actual in-person workouts, and that's why there's this setback for Cam Newton, because he's obviously coming off some injuries. Dude, he was an MVP. I don't know how he hasn't been signed yet. I don't know, but I could see it happening at some point. But anyway, I could see the Steelers. Their schedule looks so easy, but then again, hindsight's 2020. I mean, I could see him hitting
It
10
always
wins.
is.
Yeah, of course. You know, I could see him hitting 10 wins. I think the Ravens are still going to be good. Cleveland, I mean, growing up there and just having all these family members who are Browns fans, I'll believe it when I see it. I mean, they're a loaded, talented roster, but that is the worst run organization in professional sports. Not 100%, but it's bottom 5. And
The Charlotte Hornets have entered the chat.
yeah, there's some other teams that are just abysmally run. And then the Bengals, they'll get better. I mean, Joe Burrow should help them, obviously.
But there's no chance they win that division.
Who the
Bengals? Yeah, there's no chance they win that division. No chance. But Max, man, we really appreciate you coming on. I had a great time with this interview. I know Josh did too. Talking with someone that he went to college with and worked with personally. But dude, it was awesome talking to you and meeting you, and we'd love to have you on again.
Awesome, thank
Josh?
you. And did Josh tell you what saved this interview?
No, we did not. Josh?
I was all ready to deny this request and not come on. I just assumed you were a Clemson fan. And,
see, dude, not being a Clemson fan just solves all the world's problems.